All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to do some painting this evening. Welcome back to the studio, and tonight, as you can see right here, I've picked some pelicans to do a painting of this evening. I love pelicans. We have lots of pelicans around here. I love that they're prehistoric. They just look crazy when they're flying around, and especially when they dive down into the water and, just grab some fish. Michelle, hello. Jacqueline, hello. Welcome. So like normal, I have pre-drawn my image. There it is, very quickly, very lightly, and we're going to get on to painting with it. Still using over here on the side my M-gram paints with various brushes here. Got my Dana Squirrel Quill mop brushes here, the silver black velvet brushes, and if I need a liner or rigger brush, then I've got some liners or riggers, and we'll talk about that if we use them. They are mean. Pelicans are mean. Yeah, okay. They're a little feisty. I don't think they're as bad as, let's say, Canadian geese, but maybe they're a little feisty. I can go with that. Anyway, so let's get going with these. And I'm going to start by painting them. I was thinking about starting by painting the background, and I'm not going to do it. I was this close, but I think I'm not going to do that. Geese too. I think geese are some of the meanest birds out there. I grew up being chased around by geese, and I didn't appreciate it. I'm not a big fan of geese. I like looking at them from afar, but I don't want them to be anywhere near me. Alan is here. Hello, Alan. So I'm just mixing up some colors that were on my palette here. I believe this was a mixture of phthalo blue and what's this one? Ultramarine blue. Why can I never get ultramarine blue? And I've got a nice blue-gray going here. And over on this side, I had sepia, maybe a little bit of yellow ochre, a little bit of burnt umber, maybe a little bit of azo orange in there. And so I've got a warmer gray going here. And, well, shoot. You know what? Every time I don't wet these and start off by not wetting them, I always go, well, maybe I should have wet them to start. So I'm just going to go ahead. I've got a little bit of paint on my brush already, but it's mostly water. This is very light on the paint. Actually, that might be all we need. Is that little bit right there. I just want to get a little bit of color on these guys. And I'm going to paint right along with each of these birds. The paint will touch a little bit, the water will touch a little bit, and we'll get a little bit of running together, and that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. Alan, you're painting along? You're painting along with me? That'd be awesome. You love the one who has his foot raised, the one in the front who's looking back the other way. They're cute. They are cute. They're fun to look at. They're such an interesting animal. But most wildlife we have around here, I don't mind getting close to some extent. These guys, I look at them and I go, I think I can kind of stand my ground and stay away from them just a little bit. I don't need to get too close. They make a big ruckus too when they honk, bellow. Alan, you're painting cockatiel. That's pretty cool. I have a good cockatiel story I could tell everybody. I had a friend in college who was given a cockatiel, and my friend couldn't keep it. He wanted to. He had it in his apartment for, well, I'm going to say about a year, but he couldn't keep it and didn't want it to go into, bad hands. He didn't want to sell it to somebody they didn't know. That's never really a good thing to do. You want your animals to go, if you can't keep them, you want them to go somewhere with someone you know. So my brother's birthday was coming up. I bought it from him, put it in my car, and drove him down to where my brother was living. And my brother got him and kept him, had him named him Kramer, renamed him Kramer. I had him for, 5, 6 more years, something like that. And those two were inseparable for a long time. He'd go into his apartment and that bird would just sit right next to him like it was nothing, like they were best friends. And I always thought that Kramer was only going to live for a couple of years at the most. He was old when I got him, but like I said, he lived 5 or 6 years. I thought that was fantastic. And like I said, my brother just adored him. After that, my brother then started raising birds, all kinds of birds. And, then it kind of made his apartment and eventually his house a big, stinky, smelly mess. But he had lots of birds. It was always fun to go over there because you were never exactly sure what you were going to run into. What kind of birds, he had lots of finches he had. We're a little away from, we're on to finches, we're a little away from pelicans and cockatiels, but that's okay. Birds nonetheless. Love bird stories. All right, I think I'm going to go right around this wing here. I want, if you look at the reference photo, I hope you guys can see it. If you can't see it, I'll show you my reference photo here. There is a little bit of a line that goes around this wing, and I want to do that a little bit of justice, right, and just let it be how it is, right, a hard edge defining the wing from the rest of the body. And that's the only wing we can see on these 3 birds because of the way they're standing. So I'm just going to do that. And I'm going to go right up on the back here. Let's hope I'm not a little too late. I can grab that. I don't want to get a hard edge there. These 3, I can't imagine these 3 just standing here. Like going, what's going on? What are you guys up to? All right, there we go. And I think while I'm waiting for that, I'm going to paint some of the tails down on the bottom. Let's see. I had to give my couple of, oh no. Allergies. Allergies will do it. Grayish body, yellow head. It's my cocktail I had years ago. The man would whistle in the intro tune to Andy Griffith. Oh, no, that's funny. I'm not going to whistle it because I would. Probably as soon as I start to whistle it, YouTube will come down on me for some kind of copyright something. But I think we all know what it is. I should say, I don't know if I said, I hope everybody's having a great week. I hope everybody's having a great week. Hope everybody's staying safe and virus-free. Don't want anybody to get sick. Oh, just a little bit more here. And I started this on, I think this is dry enough. I can go back in on this wing. I'll get a similar color. Won't be the same color, but that's okay. I talked about it on Twitch. This week I made a first step to again, we all go through it as artists, to begin trying to paint more impressionistically. Right, I'm just going to say it like that. I'm probably never going to be the greatest impressionist painter in the world, and that's okay. But I really admire that style and want to learn more about that style. So I'm hoping that what you will see from me starting tonight and into the future are less, I don't want to say realistic, but less exact representational watercolors, and more of an impression of something. I want to get the feeling of something that I see across to you. I think you're going to break a record painting tonight. Am I painting fast again? We were thinking of driving to California, but not unless things get a lot better. Don't come to California. We've broken records with wildfires in Arizona. If you're coming to California, don't come to California. At least don't come to the central coast of California. Our virus numbers are sharply on the rise. Sharply on the rise. As we've started to open up, we've seen our case numbers shoot up. Okay, so I've got my first layer on these guys, and I like that they don't have all exactly the same. I'm happy that I left this hard edge here. We're going to come back in here with a little more color. But I think the next step for me on these guys is to get some good shading on them. What color's in the gray mix? In the gray mix, I've got up here in the first one where I've got my blues, I've got a little ultramarine blue, maybe a little bit of phthalo blue, some sepia in there, I'm sure, and maybe a little bit of burnt umber. And in this tray here, a little warmer color brown, gray. Like this is a colder gray, and this is a bit warmer gray. I hope you can see that. Right, basically the same colors. But we might have a dab of red in there. There was definitely some red over on this side of this tray. But I know I had some gamboge or azo orange in with that mix to make it a little bit warmer of a gray. Fun stuff. Hello, Golden. Hello. Glad you guys could make it. But when I make my grays, I'm doing one of a couple of things. I like to make my gray with either ultramarine and burnt umber, or ultramarine and sepia. The sepia makes a darker, a little bit colder gray, although you can make it warm and cold with the amount of blue that you add into it. And the ultramarine and the burnt umber makes it a little bit warmer of a gray. If you really want to warm it up even more, you can put a little bit of azo orange in there, or any kind of orange. And blue and orange would make a nice gray for you. That's what they do. But we're going to, at this point, I'm going to turn this completely upside down and re-wet this first guy here. And we're going to see about putting just a little bit of a shadow underneath here. And I'll make a new gray for this. A little bit of sepia here and a little bit of that ultramarine. Makes a wonderful color. Under here, there we go. Let's just do this. And I want to start letting the paint do more for me. I want to do less of the painting. I want the paint to do more of the painting for me. That's an impressionist thing that you'll see done a lot. I want to put the paint on in certain places and know or expect that the water is going to move that around the way I want it to. I added a little bit of a burnt umber in there. I just want to warm this up a little bit because I'm going to pull it up. And as we come up on this guy, here he is. You can see he's got a little, he's a little less cold in the blue on him up here. And then he's got some shadow over here. I'm going to re-wet that. And maybe down the side of his neck a little bit. Somewhere like that. I don't know. Let me go back to my gray here. I think the one big thing about Impressionists that I'm going to have a hard time with is, and I'll really have to work on this, is that they, not all of them, but in large mark, they will put in a dab of color for no particular reason. Just because they think the Impressionist movement, as I understand it, was never fully about getting things right? That's the realists, and that's not what the Impressionists ever were going to do. And the pop of color in there adds a bit of life to the paintings, and that's what they want. As you view one of their paintings, if you look close, I've got a moth or something flying around here. If you view their paintings, you'll see strange colors in there that don't really go for no particular reason, but when you look at it, it all seems to make sense, right? In total, totally makes sense. Alone, why would you put that color on there? Doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to struggle with that. I already know. But I'm going to do it anyways. I'm going to get it done. You guys are going to go along with me, hopefully. And now the party's all here. Alan, you remember when you were in elementary school, the Pelicans stole your lunch? I wish I had a Pelican that would have stolen my lunch in elementary school. That would have meant I was not at my school. I was at a different school. We didn't have seagulls at my school. We were far away from any water. We had sparrows. Well, one had chased me down the boardwalk. Oh no. Oh, that's terrible. I don't have any of those bird stories. My bird stories are, I would go out to this place called Mosquito Lake. Yes, that's a real place. Yes, that is the name of it. Mosquito Lake. Why you would name a lake that, I'm not exactly sure, but that was the name of it. And we would feed the ducks and the geese, because the geese would crowd in. And you had to feed the geese because they took over everything. And I remember standing there with my bag of Wonder Bread, wanting to feed the ducks and the geese, and these big, giant Canadian geese would just come over and pull the bag out of your hand and take all your bread. And there's me as a little kid just going, "What I did? How come the goose stole all my bread?" I'm sure my parents had a big laugh over it. But when I was little, it was very traumatizing. As a result, I love to look at geese. I don't want anything to do with geese. I still think Canadian geese are a beautiful bird. Wonderful. Beautiful bird. I just don't want to have anything to do with him. This is a little cold for me. I got a little too much blue in there. I'm going to see if I can warm this up a little bit here. All right, I'm just going to drop. This is a very light mixture of some of this yellow ochre in here. I'm just going to drop that in. A very little bit. All right, and we're starting to see this guy come to life, take a little shape. This guy's got a little bit of shadowing on him, shading on him. I'm going to call him Pelican number 3 over here, because he's the third one back. Pelican 1 is looking good here, I think. I got to do a little bit on his head up here. So let's see what we can do there. Let's see. The art stage that I've always questioned is how they did this. Has it always been? Oh God, pointillists. Oh. Wait. Also, the white of the paper is high life paint, usually not totally painted or very loose. Yes. Painted loosely. Very correct. Because they want to give you the impression of something. They don't want you to see the entirety of what their art piece is. They want your brain to figure out a lot of it. And that, to me, is really one of the really hard parts of that movement, is knowing what to cut out, what you don't want to put in. If you put in too much, then you're a realist. If you don't put in enough, then you're way out, you're way loose, and you're probably in a different genre. And that is difficult in and of its own. I'm just going to give this guy's head a little bit of shadow here. Yes, the Impressionists do paint quickly, and they do paint loosely, although not always. But yes, absolutely correct. They oscillate between using a minimum number of larger brush strokes and using a smaller number of small brush. Is that right? Did I say that right, or do I have that backwards? I don't know. Okay, what brushes are you looking for? I can't find those brushes. Oh, Alan, you're using your new Martini brushes. your sister stole your first set. That's funny. I really hope they work out great for you. I should bring mine back out. I got these silver black velvet brushes out because I know everybody likes the silver black velvet brushes. And I like them. I don't love them. And I wish I liked them as much as everybody else. I just don't think that I do. All right, so let's get some shading on this last guy over here. Where's his go? His goes up to here-ish. Something like this. A little bit of this sepia. Where's my blue? Let's get a little bit of this azo orange in there. That'll give us a wonderful color. And here's the gray I'm dropping in. Oh, come on. Now, if we can get this done in a reasonable amount of time, then we're really going to have fun putting some feathers on these guys. Hopefully, we can do it in a not too straightforward way, but I want to get some feathers on, and I want to give it some structure to those feathers. But we'll see. I don't think I'm ever going to be a full impressionist. You know, I'm never going to be like a John Singer Sargent or anything, but I can definitely incorporate a lot of that impressionist movement into my paintings. And I think that'll be a great thing to do. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, these guys are all shadowed up how I'm going to do them, right? I'm not going to do any more with them. They're good. The rest of everything we're going to put on these birds, other than the beaks and their eyes, is going to be feathers. And somebody just texted me. Now I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, I guess the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get a nice pinkish color here for the base for their beaks. And I'm going to use Pyrrole red. For me, that's a fiery red that's here on my palette right here. And I'm going to put some cold yellow into it. Right? So I'm going to make this, it's kind of a fleshy, orangey pink color. Let's see. You guys are still talking about watercolor brushes. Oh, you guys are talking about the Martini brushes. They're a relatively inexpensive set of brush. Most of the brushes I have here are relatively inexpensive. I think you can get a very good brush, or an awfully good brush, for not a lot of money. And I see that my bird number 1 was just a little damp when I put color on bird number 2. And I'm not going to worry about it at the moment. I'm going to try to ignore that little thing. Oh, the silver black velvets. The silver black velvets are, again, a relatively inexpensive brush. I would say they're a mid-priced brush. They're certainly not cheap brushes like the snap brushes that you would get, or maybe a Zen brush, or maybe something from Royal Langnickel. But they are certainly not an expensive brush like something you would get from Winsor Newton, or I don't know, so many of the other places. They are squirrel hair. They come to a good point because they're manufactured to have to come to a good point. I've talked about that before. They hold a good amount of water, and they have a decent feel to them. I don't think they have the greatest feel in the world, but they have a decent feel to them. And like I said, lots of people really like those, which is why I got them to try them out, because so many people like them. But, and I keep saying this, I don't have any reason to put them away. They're good brushes. They work. They're nice. There's not a thing wrong with them. But the opposite of that is, I don't know that I can find a whole lot that's great about them either. They're good. I don't have a single problem with them. But I can't find anything great about them. All right, I'm going to leave this brush be for just a second, and I'm actually going to grab one of these brushes. I know Da Vinci and Koblinski are considered quite the investment. I have a Winsor and Newton brush. It was very expensive. It was gifted to me. Wildly expensive. I never would have bought it for myself. It was a Winsor & Newton Series 7 brush. And I have to tell you, it's absolute crap. You don't see me use it because it's so bad. It doesn't, and I sent 2 of them back because I was like, this can't possibly be how this brush is supposed to be. It must be better than this. And I called up, I got it from Dick Blick. They were very nice about it. I called them up and I said, look, honest to God, this can't be right. And they're like, you know what? That's your 3rd one. If they're all like that, they're all like that. I was so disappointed in them. I was so excited to get a Series 7 brush, and nope. It's definitely not the brush for me. What rigger brush do I use? Well, I have the rigger brush I use most is an old Grumbacher rigger brush. It's a synthetic hair, and it's a size 3, and I can do most everything I want to with that size 3 rigger. Just give me 1 second and I'll grab it for you. And if I need to do anything more, anything smaller, here's my rigger size 3 from Grumbacher. I have one here that I think is a size 3 also, but this was the first one I ever had, and the paint's come off, so I don't know what size it is. So I mostly use that size 3, and if I have anything smaller to do, this is a Princeton Select, which is a size 1, and so I just use those. And for most of what I do, those work out okay. And I just noticed I forgot to draw in an extra leg. One of these guys has only got one leg. Oh no. The one, and I drew his leg thick too. The one-legged pelican. That's horrible. Oh man, I'm totally sorry, dude. I actually am trying not to use my rigger too much. I want to develop a little more touch with my my hand and my small round brush, but the rigger is just so convenient for rigging or small thin lines or whatnot. It just works so well. I think the next time I have some spare money, I may try one. It's a pretty good size to start with. Are we still talking about riggers? What's a good size? Rigger to start with, I would start with a 3 or a 2. If we're talking about riggers, it's a good general size. And if you need to double up the line, normally you can, but it's small enough that you can get it in some pretty tight spaces with it. And Jacqueline, you didn't like your Winsor & Newton Series 7 either. That's so disappointing because they're such an expensive brush. You buy a brush that's that expensive, it should knock your socks off. It really should. And the fact that it didn't, I could not believe that I came away disappointed from that Series 7. I suppose I'll use it somehow. I actually even got mine wet and re-gummed it, hoping that it would retrain all of the bristles to stay down the way I wanted them to, and no dice. It just wouldn't, and I gave up on it. I'm scared to ask the price. What's the price? The price on the Series 7 brush is more than you want to know. It is. They probably, let's see, I think I have a size 8 and it cost $100 or somewhere around there. Like I said, horribly expensive. You can buy a lot of brushes that are, well, better, knowing that I've just complained about them, knowing that they're better for a lot less than that. How much are the silvers? The silvers are relatively cheap. You can get this brush here. This is an 8 for maybe $15. I bought mine in a pack of 3 or 4 rounds at once, and it was $35 or something like that. So pretty inexpensive for the silver black velvets. Do your M-gram paints run in your palette when you fold it up? Mine, they always run down your palette. Mine do not. However, before I ever fold my palette up, I get all of the water off my palette. I get all of the water off my palette, and I let it sit overnight to dry out before I close it up. Because I know that, especially when you first put them out of the tube onto your palette, they're very wet and very runny. And for a couple of days, they will probably run. But if you let them sit out overnight, at least where I'm at, that next day I have not had any problem with my M-gram running all over the place. Let's see, Mamtha, I don't know. I'm sorry. It's some kind of Cyrillic or something. I like your paintings as the way you explain a lot. Could you please make a lesson on a dog painting? Oh, I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can. Not that I don't want to. I don't typically paint fur. Fur gives me fits. Fur gives me fits. I can give it a shot, maybe. I'm gonna have to do some testing on some fur before I'm really going to agree to doing that. I'm sorry. Fur gives me fits. Let's see. Amazon, they go. Yeah, no, Golden Morrison. If you saw a silver that was $40, it was a a large silver brush. They're typically not that much. I mean, it might have been a size 12 or 16, something like that. If it was $40, that would have been quite a lot. All right, I'm going to come back up and I'm going to put some lighter colors in this guy's bill a little bit. Just trying to look to see. It's got a lot of gray on the center of this bill, but as it comes down the sides, it's got some nice orangish colors to it. So I want to make sure I give him some nice orange color here. And in fact, I'm going to do a lot of the bottom of this pretty orange. And then I'm going to come right down and do a stripe of a gray. And let's see how this looks. Let all the paint do what it wants to right on here. And let's see if that looks like his bill at all. Well, it's not bad. That's not too bad at all, I don't think. Sprinkle a little bit more of this orange color in there. Gonna get a nice straight line on the side of that bill. There we go. I think that's pretty good. I think that's good. I think that looks quite a lot like the reference photo there. This next one, I'm calling him number 2. Number 2 has a little bit more orange, not nearly as much gray, and I'm going to give him a little bit of yellow up on his eye up here too. Just a brighter color up there. They all seem to have a spot of brighter colors right up here. And then as we come down, I'll just mix in a lot of this orange. It's all these little brush strokes like this that the Impressionists, they would not do. Or if they did small brush strokes like this, they would be quick, choppy, very staccato brush strokes. Not like I'm doing. They would be less concerned with getting exactly in the lines like I've tried to do here, and they would be much more concerned with the shape of this bill, that it reminded you of a bill. All right, the shape of it would be everything for them. Got a little too much red underneath there, so I'm gonna go like that, and that one is all but done. Am I going to add the reflection of the orange in the underside of the webbed feet down here on the ground? I am going to put a background. I am going to put a foreground in this one. Don't worry about that. There will be some ground down here, so there probably will be some orange underneath their feet a little bit. Let's see. I do know that the ones I have would always be runny, Like they won't even drip up a little bit. Oh, on the Pelicans. Let's see. I'm not sure what. I'm not sure what. I missed something in here. I'm going back to look at it. Where are we at? Mgram adds honey. What's the mid-range or less? Scared about the price. Yeah. Let's see. I might not have been the silvers. Okay, I put them on a brand new palette and left them in my room to dry out for a week, and they wouldn't dry completely. That's the M-grams you're talking about, Alan. The M-grams don't dry completely. They will always look shiny. The M-gram paints will. It is because of the honey that's in them. Doesn't allow them to dry fully. But these, I was going to say, these are just sitting out, but these have kind of been out for quite a while. But I do have some that I've set aside, but I'm surprised that after a couple of days that any of your paints would still be runny. That's a bit surprising to me. The only time I've had problems, and I've been using M-gram paints for almost a decade now. The only times I had problems with my M-grams were when I put them in a palette and then immediately closed it up and carried it off to go paint somewhere else, and then I got a drip, but that really was only from a couple of the different colors. I remember sap green not playing nicely and being in everybody else's colors, in everybody else's area. But I use this. I take this palette with me when I go out on location to do plein air painting, and I have another palette that's all M-gram paints, and I honestly I have not had the problem of my paints running all over after letting them dry for a day. That's a bit it's a bit worrying. How's that one look? He needs a little bit more gray down here, doesn't he? Let's see if I can lift just a little bit more. Is there any more gray in there? I need a little bit more gray. Whoa. Okay, I got some gray there. I ordered a little gray and I got a lot of gray. That's all right. That's okay. I think it looks good. I think it looks good. He's got a little bit of red down here. I'm just going to drop that on with a little bit of, that's a little bit of Pyrol red, just straight, but, diluted a little bit. Jacqueline, you hate when your paint's dry and crack and you find specks of color in every well. Yeah, if your paint gets moldy, you should be able to crack it off, scrape off the top. You should be able to spray it. Is that right? Spray it and get the mold wet and then wipe it off. You'll lose a little bit, but you won't lose everything. Let's see. I need a warm gray here. Terry says M-grams are great for use in Montana. It's so dry there. I did buy some Daniel Smith, but they're not open yet. Daniel Smith should be about the same as your M-grams because they are both made with quite a bit of honey in them. I'm gonna just draw a wavy line here. These are some feathers. They don't look like it, but they are. Right there, and then everything above that line, I'm going to give a little bit extra color to. And with any luck, I can get to it before it makes a big tide line right there. Come on, get wet, get wet, get wet, 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 wet. All the way down, all the way. I don't need any more color. In here. Oh yeah, they're loosening it up a little bit. But I just want that little bit. I guess I do want this to go all the way to the end though. There we go. Underneath the bill. When is a bill and when is a bill a beak? Is it water birds that have bills? And terrestrial birds that have beaks? Is that how we tell the difference between a bill and a beak? Does anybody know? Terry, I was thinking. Terry, yours dry out totally? Really? That's a little surprising to me that M-grams would dry out all the way. They should dry and have a sheen on the top of them, but not dry out all the way. See, while I'm on bird number 1 here, I'm going to use a little bit of, this is Winsor & Newton Ivory Black here. And we've got a few little bits of black that show through underneath here. I'm just going to drop that in. All right, there we go. So we got the upper wing painted on here. It looks a little funny. It's going to look better when we get the wings painted, the feathers painted on here. We'll get some stripage on the top there. That's going to be better. I'm looking at what we need to do down here. I want to paint. What colors do I have here? Oh, didn't want to do that. Let's get a good gray going here, and let's add onto this tail down here. Right, we can just paint just most of it like that. We'll leave some of it a little raggedy and a little jaggedy. Under there. We'll do the same thing with this other one, only we'll just leave a little bit more blue in this next one here. This one comes down, a little down here. It's back there, and this has got some blue underneath here maybe. A little bit, I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. If we don't like it, we can always just blend it out until you'll never ever see it again. And this guy, okay, so what I'm going to start to do is I'm going to start to paint some feathers on this guy here. And I'm going to do it with a smaller brush than this. I'm going to go down to, what is this? This is a 2. Just going to grab whatever color this is. And I always have a hard time, I will admit, I have a hard time with these smaller brushes because they hold so little paint, right? So little. But I just want to put on some little lines and triangles down here. All right, these are the feathers. Don't need a ton of anything on here, but we do need a few on here to show that there's some texture on this bird. Just picked up something. Right, and those have to keep going down here, even in the shadows. It's not a shadow, it's a darker area, but we need to make sure that we get some feathers on down there also. And any lines that we need darkened up here around his eye. Could even paint in part of his eye right now if I wanted to. I do know that I want to put on a little bit, there's a little bit of a darker area on his bill here. Is that all dry? Right back here. Right, that's like back behind. Let's hope that ends up looking like it's back behind. The rest of that bill. There we go. It looks like he's got kind of a smirk going. Painting white birds or flowers is difficult. Oh, yeah, painting. It is difficult. It's fun. It's challenging, but it's a little difficult. That's okay. Difficult is fine. Difficult helps us grow, right? If we didn't have difficult, we wouldn't have easy. So I'm not too worried about difficult. Let's see. He's got some feathers coming over here. I'm trying not to do these in a pattern that look like I put them on here. Right? I want these to be in a pattern that look like they just developed that way. He was born with his feathers doing this. So trying to get him in a random-ish kind of a way. Some maybe a little bigger, some maybe a little smaller. All right, this guy's got to have a few more over here. This guy's got to have a couple bigger ones too. All right, these ones down here should be a little bigger. Feathers maybe. It's got a couple more over there, but I like to put these on just so they give a little indication of the direction that the feathers follow here. Right, wherever these feathers go, that's the direction. Whatever direction these feathers go, that's the direction I want to put these on, so that your eye gets a visual cue of this of this guy having, you know, much more of a turn in his neck here. His body goes like this. Finished my painting, came out. You finished already, Alan? No fair. Wait, your birds are smaller, right? Your bird was smaller. That's how you finished more quickly than me. My birds are bigger. Plus, I'm yapping away. I'm yapping my full head off over here. Let's see. Couple over here. Right, as his neck comes off this way, I want some of these lines to come over here. Again, I'm glossing over this back run, I'm going to accept that it's here and say, goody, bring it on. There's our back run. I can draw in a couple of the feathers over here now. Right, and it should start to look like, and up here also, let's see, these ones kind of curved down that way. Right, you'll see kind of the madness that I'm going through here. I want to give the indication of a couple of these feathers, but I don't know. I think I started off at a little bit of the wrong angle on some of these. We've definitely got some just lines in here just to give it a little bit of texture. It may look a little funny, but when you step back a little bit, they might be, some of these might be a little dark, but you step back a little bit and you can really tell, right, the texture of this. Now, could you have lifted that back run? I probably could have lifted the back run. It would have caused other problems. There would have been a light spot here. I could go over it. I could still go over it. If I determined that, and I'm probably not going to do it right now, but if I were to determine that these spots on these guys are too pronounced, right? I got a couple that are a little dark. I could go over them very lightly with a little wet brush, and it would knock them down just a little bit. Nothing else, pure water, very quickly. It would just knock them down a little bit, and it would take a little bit of that back run off of there. But before we do any of that, because I don't think they look bad, oh, you know what I do need to do? Before I do too much, I'm going to get my rigger out. Check this out. Okay, we're almost done with the birds here. But let's do this. Let's get this rigger brush out. And somehow these guys are going to have to open their mouths, right? So at some point, we're going to have to give them some way to do that. This guy's just gotta, I don't know, is my head in the way? I feel like I'm leaning way over. I hope my head's not in the way. All right, there we go. He can open his mouth now. Makes me feel a little better that I got a bird that can can actually feed on something. All right, now we can get into the sky on this, which is incredibly light. And I'm going to mix a couple of these different colors, and there's going to be my sky color. Believe it or not, it's very light. And how am I going to do this? I'm just going to get a ton, I'm going to get a ton of water on here. And I think all of this up here is dry. So I'm going to see if I can do this very quickly. Could I have done this first? Yes, I could have done this first. I just think that going around a white spot with blank water is difficult to say the least. So painting the birds first made a bit of sense to me. And now I've got a hard line in there that I can see to know exactly where I'm going to. And also using the blue tends to even lightly like this with a really light color in front of it tends to be a kind of aggressive, I guess I could say, in that if I were to go over and paint blue inside the line first, you would always have that there. It would always be a little funny because that blue is there, and you don't want that blue there. All right, there we go. There's my hazy sky. We have a lot of hazy skies, especially in the summer here. It's always a little bit overcast, foggy. Let's see, I'll just do that little bit. That's actually the back of the bird, but it's going to bug me if it's just something else. And now I'm going to get a little bit of... It's going to run back up. It is. I know it is. I'm going to live with it. Actually, I can do a little bit of this. Just, that'll stop some of it. I got color on there. But this will run back up a little bit, and I'm just going to have to be okay with it. Honestly, it doesn't bother me all that much if I get a little bit of back run into the sky there. It's way back there. Right? That's way back there. We're not going to worry about it. It's in the background. But as we come forward, then maybe we want to take care to mix in some other colors. As we come up, there's a little bit of a yellowish green. We'll change that color a little bit as we come down into a lighter green. A bit of a cobalt here. And then at some point, around this guy's tail right here, everything's going to stop. It doesn't have to be exactly the same on this other side, but something close would be nice. It's going to kind of stop right around here somewhere. And we're going to shift into the mode of a little bit more of an ochre, a grayish ochre. Right, so let's get this line kind of close in here. That's kind of close. I'm just going to take my ochre here and mix it with a few of the things that are here. Right, we can even put some of this burnt umber in there as we bring this towards us. Let's go around that tail. I'm more narrating what I'm doing at this point than talking to you. I'm sorry. It so happens that when I've got to concentrate, then it's hard. It's hard to do that at once. I'm going to look up here in a second and answer some questions if I can. Hopefully I'll be able to do that. This big brush, even though this is a big brush, look how fine of a point I can get to with this. I love this. I love these brushes. These were not expensive brushes as far as brushes go. All right, this set was $30-ish or so. And honestly, I was afraid for a while to use this bigger brush because it holds so much water, but boy, oh boy, it does such a good job. It comes to such a great point. And I can't not use it. Okay, and we're down here around this guy's feet. What does our mud and dirt look like down here? Right? I don't know. Something like this. Let's mix in some other colors in here just to make this a little bit more exciting. If we just made it all that one color, it would work. It might be a bit boring. We don't want boring. We want to err a bit more on the exciting side. I'm actually going to mix back in some of this green in here. Make sure this stays wet all through here. Don't really want a hard edge. I could cover all that up or not. I think I'm going to cover most of this up. And then if we wanted to put in some orange reflection in here, well, that's a bit much. That's a bit too much. We can spread that out a little bit. Maybe it's a bit darker underneath there. I don't know, just touch it up like that. And we've got some geese here. Some geese. Oh man, now I've got geese on the brain. We've got some pelicans in there standing on the beach. How's that look? How's that for a quick background? The swords are flat and sword shaped, thinner at the point. Oh, we're still talking about brushes. Yes, swords. I don't think I have a sword brush. Yeah, they go up and one end comes in. So flat on one side and the other one angles in. More like a saber than a sword, really. But they're nice. People like those. I tried one and I kind of went, yeah, okay. Also, I think I might have just confused the both of us with my question, but you know how vehicles have both a make and a model. Is that kind of how brush names and labels work? Brushes, yeah. Brushes have makes. So this one here, the maker is Princeton, the model is Select, and I guess the sub model would be Liner on this one that I'm having in my hand right now. Yeah, that's you know. Kind of work like that. The silver Black Velvet. The silver is the company that makes it. Black Velvet is the line. Silver makes lots of different brushes, or at least a number of different brushes. Maybe not a lot, but they make enough. And then in addition to that, then you have the size on there too. All right, let's get an eye on these. You get eyes on these guys, then they really start to have a personality. There we go. And there we go. That doesn't look too bad at all. I think it looks great. Jacqueline, you you like the color background. You like that I actually put a background on it today. That's what you like, because how many times do I go, I don't want to put a background on it, and I don't. But today I did. And there you are. That's my take on, I just threw my thing over. That's my take on these three guys. Walking through the mud in the muck, having a good old time, being pelicans, as pelicans do. That's all I've got for you guys this evening. Thank you all for showing up. I really appreciated it. I've got links down below to my website. I feel the two closest right are a whole mood themselves. These two, once you put the eyes on her, depending upon how you put the eyes on her, then they really get their own personalities. They really do. Links down below, I hope. Down below, somebody let me know if they're not. Instagram, Twitter, which I post to. I'm going to start doing Twitter a lot more than I do now. I put all my paintings on Instagram. Links to my website's got some stuff there. And a link to the donation link down there. Maybe there's a link to Discord down there, I think. If you want to get into a different chat or ask some specific questions, Discord is a great way to do that. You can also go to my website and send me an email. I'm pretty responsive to emails there. And that's all I've got for you guys this evening. Thank you all so much for joining me this evening on these little pelicans. I had a great time painting them. Everybody take care out there. Be safe. Take care of yourself. And come back here next Wednesday. And we'll see you then. All right. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.